Roman bread for true Romans.
Let's talk about game design. What is a game designer? Well, it depends on the company actually. In different companies, game designers fulfill different roles. Like creating AI, balancing items, creating systems, weather, cars, tuning, metrics, layout. But what does this mean? What is a game designer? I mean, if you ask people that are outside the industry, they would say, oh, I think the game designer is the guy who thinks the game. I want to be that guy. The guy whose ideas are given life in a digital medium. Sounds pretty, sounds like a pretty cool job. You know, people listening to you and putting your thoughts to a digital canvas. That might have been the case some years back when teams were very small. 12 people making a game. The designer was the writer and whatever, boss, as the guy with the vision. But that's no longer the case, sadly. Now in these big teams of 30 people plus minimum, up to 600, game designers are specialists, are engineers, highly specialized. You could be working for years in a company and just be the guy who does water systems. You are the water expert. What does that mean? It means that when it comes to water, raising volume, lowering volume, and how it pools in depressions, when the water level goes higher than a hole, then you lower the water level, and then in that hole remains water. That's brilliant. That's a technical achievement. So you're that expert, which means if you join another company and you work on a different pipeline with different systems, your expertise will be brought to bear. You shouldn't be upset about that. You are the water guy, like Kevin Costner. Now, to go around on my initial question, for these guys, for you guys that are not in the industry, what is a game designer? Well, at its core, at its base, this crepe is really good. This is a crepe. It has meats, potatoes, I think, 2 types of cheeses, and that's it. So the game designer is a specialist. He's an engineer. He works systems, metrics. He does not write the story. He does not envision the game, right? That's the job of other people, like writers, for instance. He decides, though, how the metrics, how far the character drops. Can you control in the air? Or when you jump, you just commit to the direction. What is the distance? What are the other dodging abilities? How do you mitigate damage? What abilities do you need? For the protagonist, that's the 3C, we call it the 3C. How is the camera? What distance? What angle? How does it bob? Does it bob? Does the camera change when you go indoors? Because the spaces are tight. What are the smart systems that the camera has to follow the player and adjust to terrain so that it doesn't hop up whenever you go down the stairs? Or maybe you're an AI designer. You understand behavioral loops. You write them on paper and then you improve them. I did stuff like this when I worked as an AC with the gladiators. But The key point is that designers do metrics, values, and they work in editors. That is something people might not expect, but as an engineer, you engineer, you write, you do scripting, kind of like programming, but very light, super light. You tweak values, decide the tracking, how much an attack follows the player, with what weight. Could be 100%, which means the attack will always follow the player and the character will turn around, or half of that weight, which means somewhat behind the player if the player keeps moving, or maybe the attack tracks at the beginning and not at the end. These are the things that designers juggle with. That's their job, game designer. And there are many types. Usually a game designer is a specialist, but depends on the companies and the budgets really. But that's not all. Based on their on their experience and how much faith does the leadership has in that particular designer, and resources. How many designers do you have, and what's their expertise? A designer also creates. He invents. He expands. He's been given a task. Make me an AI that needs to fit this archetype, like an ambusher, or I don't know. Let's move away from AI. I want the weather to feel real. I want the weather to affect gameplay. I want to change the layout when weather happens. It's not just like, in an MMO, just flows, it rains, and there's nothing changes. Gameplay proceeds normally. That is when the designer takes that framing into his mental workshop and writes a system where when it starts raining, there's a chance that it's a lightning storm, right? Like in Zelda, Breath of the Wild. If you're wearing metal armor, you're gonna get struck. So when it rains, you push the gameplay indoors, which is not the case for Zelda, but you know what I mean. Not only that, raining makes spawning of fire elementals outside prohibited. Inhibits it, so you won't see fire elementals roaming because it rains. Rains also makes terrain muddy, certain types of terrain. That mud cuts the speed of movement, or it affects jumping, or you slip when you climb. Rain also empowers water elementals. They're more powerful. How powerful? Based on how much it rained, the intensity of the storm, for how long, and so on and so forth. What I'm trying to say is that, as a designer, when you add a gameplay system, you will discover, as you think about it, all the knock-on effects that it has on all the other existing systems. You need to understand everything molecularly, and then present your design, create your design. That is the job of the designer, engineer. He needs to go deep, super deep, turbo deep, understand everything that has impact in terms of production and all the other existing systems, and act accordingly. That's one part of the job. The first part. The second part is to put it on paper. The second part is to convince people who don't want to add anything or have different ideas on the topic to do what you want to do. Now, people usually, they have really bad ideas. Or they're not bad. Let me rephrase that. They have superficial ideas and understanding. It would be cool when it rained to happen, whatever. But they don't understand. They don't think too much about it. They think more the fantasy. They don't understand that maybe some of these ideas have really negative gameplay implications. For instance, the rain in Zelda is universally hated. It does not bring any benefits, only bad things. Only bad things. And rain is not based on the universal knowledge, another concept I should do another talk about. Rain is seen as not something negative. It's a thing that calms people, you know. It's something cool, something that changes, and it's beautiful, and it has its own ebb and flow. So because it rains, only bad things happen. It's annoying, and it might sound good on paper, but it won't play well. So you need to understand all these things. You need to put your design and frame it really well. Frame it within the game ingredients and the pillars. Otherwise, it's pointless. Making a surf simulator because there's rain in a whatever fighting game is not a good idea. So you need to design it accordingly, which is very difficult. So you write a document which is extremely appealing visually. You create your references and you think, what are the chief questions that the guy goes through or the girl that goes through my document will ask himself or herself. When do I talk about what and with how much information? The goal is to do away with any creative questions that might arise. Waterproofing your concept. Placing it in such a light that you make it necessary. And people reading your document should nod their heads thinking, 1, why didn't I think of that? 2, of course, makes sense. Everything here makes sense. There's nothing weird. We need this. This is very good actually. And how it complements other existing designs. Making this document usually takes 2 days, sometimes 4, sometimes a week. Depends how big it is. And of course, the document shouldn't be big. It should be very small, easy to digest, beautiful, and ideally accompanied by video footage and kind of showcase in other games or in real life. Very short, very brief, few seconds clips cut together to explain the concept. And after this is approved by people with the money, because every design decision you take is gonna cost people money, you have to actually sit down with experts and make it rain. And create the feature. You have to create the feature. You have to make new stuff or old stuff. Put them together just fast iterate, fast prototype, to showcase something as quick as possible. Within a week, you should have a rain prototype. As in, might not work everything, but some key aspects of the rain, art or systems should be already there, even if it looks bad. And that's it. As you iterate, as you prototype, you discover flaws with your initial design. You discover it because you have to poke holes with your own design. You optimize things, you extract, you discuss, you rescope, and then you move on to your next project while keeping a hand on your baby. Because as technology evolves, there is your previous work will decompose because it is going to get buggy. Because the engines, the tools, the systems improve, and there's going to be problems. That's called rot, feature rot. So you have to go back, clean it, improve it, adapt it to the new system, so that it does not. So it's optimized, it's good, and you move on to the next subject. That is the job of the game design in most companies. That's what they do. They're the people. They're part of the engine. Unlike the programmers who have less authorship and creative input, by less I don't mean none. Programmers are architects, first and foremost. Designers have more, much more. Designer is, in fact, even if the creative director and the other directors scope the game and decide the game, they don't have that much power as designers do. Designers do have the feel of the game at their fingertips. They decide a lot of things. Because when you're thinking stuff as a director, you don't go micro. You shouldn't go micro, because that means you want something done in a specific way, so you'll micromanage the designers. And that is the bane of existence. You cannot have a good feature if you always have to report every step to a person. Imagine going from here to work or whatever to buy bread. Now imagine that there is every step of your way has been mapped. Yeah, every step, literally left, right, turn here, wait here. As soon as you have a problem and you have to change things because of reasons, you have to get approval. Sometimes these approvals are late, they are misunderstood, they don't understand, they are taken personally because you're not following the plan. And in the end, you end up somewhere else buying bread or sending someone else to buy the bread for you. That's the problem with micromanagement. So, as a director, you leave designers to do their thing, and they will check with you from time to time so that they'll know they're in the right direction. And even if you don't like what they're doing, you have to trust them. You have to. And in the end, when you have a product, when you have something that you can give feedback on, the game designer will take your feedback. Gonna take it. Because the games are not the product of one person. Metal Gear is not the product of Hideo Kojima. No. It's the product of the hundreds, many hundreds that worked. And the secret sauce, the secret ingredient is lost in that soup. But someone somewhere did something that made that thing amazing. It goes to show how studios, even with the same staff and the same big creators, fail to replicate past successes. It all sits in the creators, in the design work, in their iteration, in their finding the right spices by testing and testing and testing. Designing is both coming with the creative force and owning other people's ideas and make them well, make them good, make them yours. If you don't make them yours, you're not gonna work well within that framework, even if it's bad. If you go outside the framework, outside the railroad, the production goes fuckways, man. And that's worse. A generic, creatively bankrupt idea implemented well is much better than a brilliant idea poorly implemented and it's buggy. So yeah, these are game designers. They're people who create the ingredients and they decide the metrics and numbers and they tweak them endlessly for the player to provide a comfortable and enjoyable experience, to create progression with the difficulty, to understand a design challenge or a design topic and boil it to its atomic ingredients, atomic ingredients, so that they know these ingredients and they understand what they need to add to create an organic ramp up of difficulty and difficulty and enjoyment, because these two come hand in hand. That is the designer. He's not the writer. He does not do the level design. He does not do the architecture. He tells the minimum jump is the minimum space that the character needs to turn is 1 meter. So the smallest corridor needs to be 1 meter wide. The character jumps 2 meters in front, standing jump, running jump 2.5 meters. All these are recorded in a gym, which is a blockout level design test area. And they make these Lego prefabs, let's call them, level designers do. And that's how they build their levels, with those. So that everything plays well, so that you see the distance. You see the distance, you jump it. Because you know it, you've jumped it before, you understand that distance. The moment is smaller, you're like, oh, wait a minute, your brain is ready, that's not cool. That's how it works, man. These are game designers. So, if you want to join the industry, and you want to work as a game designer, you need 3 things. 1, an analytical mind. before creative, an analytical mind. That is the power of the game design. That is the power of this crap. That it's getting cold. Crap. So, an analytical mind, because if someone else tells you stuff you haven't foreseen, effects you haven't thought about, you failed this city. The second thing, you need creativity. And you can boost that by playing other games, understanding the medium, working, being open to a lot of sources and other people's work, and not rejecting stuff on principle. And third, you need the ability to take someone else's idea and own it. Just like in theater, like an actor. You take the text, that text is not your words, it's not your character, it's not what you would say or how you would act, but you own it. You become that person, even if you dislike it, if you think it's stupid, you disagree, you own it. You bring your own spin to it. There is bandwidth. There is bandwidth for agency, for creative agency. But you do it justice. Motherfucker, you do it justice. You don't do the Batman v Superman Lex Luthor. Don't do that shit. No. You take Lex Luthor and you make it as universal knowledge demands. And you add a spin to it. So that people will say, man, look at that shit. Look at that orthodox design, but with a twist. If you make it too fucking and too weird, people are gonna be like, I don't know, it's, yeah, I guess. So, that's it. Now I'm gonna finish this motherfucker. And finish the Coke. I'm gonna get on my bike. And I'm gonna go home. Before it starts raining.
Gaius, Julius, Caesar, under terms of truce, no unclean tradesman may attend.